This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good night, Jimmy Irvin. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful night?
Well, it's snowing pretty heavily here, so we'll still call it beautiful.
I'm so sorry about that. It is raining sunshine here in the Caribbean, but I will not say that to rub it in your face.
The blessings of living in northern Canada in the wintertime.
Oh my. What parts of Canada are you in?
I'm in Alberta. I'm near Edmonton.
All right. Well, do tell me which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history.
Well, my personality profile is described as a protagonist. So I'm a natural-born leader, and I'm someone who's deeply concerned with relationships. And that led me to the world of podcasting, and we ended up with a few mutual connections. And through those mutual connections, we find ourselves here talking today.
Love it. Well, do tell us about your podcast, please.
Yeah, I started the podcast in March of 2018. We're just coming up to 100 episodes, and it's all about building a better business. And it is a combination of an interview show that we do interviews on Tuesday, and then we do lectures on Friday, where I share my business experience to try to help as many people as possible.
Now, I saw that you were at the Banff Academy, right? When I drove through Banff, I was wondering, how could there be anything like school around the area like that? It's such a beautiful place. How was that?
Well, they borrowed the name from the area because they were Alberta based, but they weren't actually right in Banff. But living close to the Rockies like I do, it has been amazing. And I lived a large portion of my life in Vancouver as well. So I've always been surrounded by mountains.
Oh, I love it. So who did you learn the skill of leadership from? That natural skill, if you would.
Part of it is just the personality profile that I have, that I'm blessed to have, I guess. And part of it also would come from a composite group of mentors, men that taught me over the years. See, I never met my natural or like my biological father. And so as a child and as a young adult, I was always craving the attention of men. And so over time, those people who took interest in me, they were able to give me guidance, and that kind of formed like a composite father. And I benefited from that, and I think that led me to be the leader that I am today.
That's super cool. Now, where can I connect with you if I'm looking to listen to your podcast?
The best place is my website, jamieirvine.ca, because I'm Canadian. But of course, the Build a Better Business podcast is also on Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, all the usual podcast players.
Now, you said Irvine. I said Irvin. Which is it?
Well, my family's from Scotland, and I grew up in New Brunswick. So the way that we pronounce my last name is Irvin. But because most people don't recognize that, sometimes I do say Irvine because people recognize Irvine, California.
All right.
The way my family pronounces it is Irvin.
All right. Well, do tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
The last 3 years for me has been a very interesting time in my life. It's probably the time where I tried the most significantly new things in my life. I moved my family. I'd always moved as a single person, but I never moved my family before. I moved them 1,000 kilometers from where we lived in Vancouver to Alberta. I ran my contracting business remotely. I sold that business. I started a podcast. There's just so many things like that I've done. So what the consistent part is that I tried new things. I reached out to people I'd never reached out to before, like my heroes, Michael E. Gerber. And it was such an interesting, it's been such an interesting time because a lot of the things I thought 3 years ago I could never do, I discovered not only can I do them, but with a bit of hard work and consistency, I can actually do them very, very well. And so that's been really rewarding.
How does it make you feel looking back over the last 3 years from where you were to where you are today?
Well, not every aspect of this has always been positive either. I learned, for example, about depression and anxiety, something that I'd been coping with but didn't realize that I needed help with. And I had the courage to also try something new there. So how it makes me feel is it makes me feel more confident. It makes me feel that I have strengths and I can use those strengths to the benefit of others, and that I have weaknesses and that I need help, and it's okay to ask.
Of course, there are people out there listening that are in that same place that you were when you were at that time when you were thinking, hey, I couldn't do anything else, or I couldn't do anything new. Why would you suggest to them they do what you've done?
I think that if you just do the things that you've always been doing, the world is changing at such a fast rate that it is almost impossible to maintain or to grow if you take that approach. So I would say that you need to push yourself, and it's not about just throwing caution to the wind. I was very strategic in all of my decisions, and I backed my decisions with a lot of really hard work. So if you're willing to do that, I think it's essential that you keep pushing yourself, because the world's not going to stop changing, and it's not going to continue to operate in your comfort zone. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So it's like anything. It's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the better you get, and the faster and the stronger you become.
Amazing audience, you're hearing it live here again from Jamie Irvine. We can switch to Irvine, right? But he is the host of a build. It's like more like telling you, like, build a better business podcast. Yeah, Jamie Irvine. Jamie, let's switch gears for a moment. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Jamie, what is your earliest childhood memory?
I'm 3 years old and I'm on a plane for the first time, and I'm flying across the country, and we're heading to Vancouver. We land and we get to see orca whales, and I got to jump on a trampoline.
Wow, why do you think these memories are so clear?
I think because it was such a significant change to anything that I'd ever experienced in my young life. And so for some reason, that memory, that series of memories are just crystal clear, like it's happening right now.
How do you see it connecting to who you are today?
I think that I've always been one that wants change and wants to try new things. And I think that because of maybe early experiences in my formative years, it helped, that environment helped to work in conjunction with my genetics to give me an attitude and a leaning towards embracing and desiring change.
Love it. I think you did very well describing that, my friend.
Thank you.
You did very well. Love it, love it. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
Well, I don't know if anybody's ever answered this, but I didn't have one because I hadn't discovered music yet. I was aware that music existed, but I was completely uninterested in it. I didn't actually discover music until I was 14, and I discovered the Seattle grunge scene, and that resonated with me as a 14-year-old. But as a 12-year-old, I was completely oblivious to music.
Yeah. We've seen that. We've heard that answer a few times as well. Not as many times as an individual who has a favorite song, but yes, it has involved moving sometimes, or a trauma in an individual's life, or just like totally disconnected from music. I've heard that.
It wasn't anything like that for me. As a little kid, my grandmother once said, I have a surprise for you. And it was a cake. And I looked at her and said, does it have wheels? So up until that point, the only thing I was interested in was motorcycles and cars and hot rods and trucks. So I just, like, music wasn't even on my radar.
That's intriguing. Yeah, that is intriguing. All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Sure.
Jamie, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
Yes.
Do you believe in God?
Maybe.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Absolutely.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Proudly, yes.
All right. What about screen time? The phone and or the computer. Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
No, I bunch that into the 3 hours.
All right, all right. Wow. If you had to share with us, Jimmy, your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, what would you say that is?
Every great business has three things: a leader that dreams, a manager that leads, and employees that care. And if you want to build a great business, you have to have a great life. And I believe every great life honors the gift of life with the outcomes that it achieves in the lifetime that it is, whether that's 2 years, 20 years, or 200 years.
Love it. Jimmy, again, great pleasure, my friend. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be on. And I think that the work that you're doing is fantastic. I've kind of watched you from a distance for some time. So keep up the good work. And I love that I have the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Love it, love it. Thanks for passing by, my friend. Thanks for having a 12-minute convo with me. Jimmy Irvine, a.k.a. Jamie Irvine. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-minute convos with Angel Jones.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.